Yolanda's howling winds of 305 kilometers per hour hoisted sea waves that reached a maximum of 25 feet and pummeled 171 municipalities. The most severely damaged were the Fisherfolk communities in 126 coastal municipalities. Let us focus on rebuilding our municipalities using the settlements approach that puts a priority on Fisherfolk communities because they are the poorest of our poor who have no tenurial status and are most at risk from typhoons. The settlements approach combines disaster risk reduction and rehabilitation of Fisherfolk housing and livelihoods. Fisherfolk communities will be moved out of the 40-meter no-build zones and relocated to risk-free sites inland. Settlement sites will be identified by the LGU and the community. The Mines and Geoscience Bureau will determine that each site is risk-free. Typhoon-resistant and resilient core shelters will be provided by the National Housing Authority and Habitat for Humanity Philippines to poor Fisherfolk households who have no secure tenurial status. A core shelter is a simple structure measuring 25 square meters with a toilet, using a Cuatro Aguas roof design and indigenous materials like bamboos that will be reinforced with cement. This design was provided by Habitat for Humanity Philippines that has been building core houses in the reconstruction of Bohol after the earthquake last year. Core shelters can be improved or expanded over time by the families themselves. International experience in post-disaster reconstruction, most importantly in Yogyakarta, Indonesia, after the 2006 earthquake, show that survivors prefer to improve core shelters by themselves. To assure access to the livelihood of poor fisherfolks, which is the sea, village-level fish landings will be built. In addition, the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources will provide boats, engines, and fishing gears. Fish landing sites or docking piers are crucial to the livelihood of fisherfolks because these sites provide spaces for mooring and repair of boats and gears, and for trading of catch and other marine products like dried fish. But because experience shows that catching fish is not enough to lift poor fishers from poverty, Fisherfolk communities will be organized to undertake livelihood programs based on coastal resource management that includes protection of the resources of the sea and developing other sources of livelihood related to and in addition to fishing, such as seaweed farming. The settlements approach is a convergence program of several agencies in government and the private sector that emphasizes community participation in order for the program to work and remain sustainable. We have identified 11 potential pilot coastal municipalities that have a high count of affected fisherfolk households, a high number of fishers without secure tenurial status, and available settlement sites that were identified by barangay officials. These municipalities are Giwan, Hernani, Llorente, Maydolong, Marabut, Bantayan, Cadiz, Estancia, Carles, Coron, and Culion. The total number of beneficiaries who have no secure tenurial status in the 11 pilot municipalities is 8,694 households. The estimated cost of rebuilding using the settlements approach is 1,324,676,600 pesos, which gives us a rough estimate cost of 152,366 pesos for each household beneficiary. This estimate does not include costing for land acquisition. The breakdown of the total budget according to major components is core housing, improved livelihoods, and social and technical preparation. Let us zoom into Culion in Palawan to see how the settlements approach may be implemented. On-the-ground reports from field visits and meetings with local officials show that there are 6 potential settlement sites that are moderate or low risk to landslides, provide access to shorelines, and where village-level docking pier or landing site can be built. In Barangay Binudak, a 61,251 square meter land has already been validated as a settlement site. A sample costing for Culion shows the components of core housing, improved livelihoods, and social and technical preparation, which will ensure sustainability of the projects through organizing, community planning, and capacity building. The total number of Fisherfolk beneficiaries without secure tenurial status is 1,249 households. The estimated total cost in Culion is 189,563,600 pesos. The cost for each Fisherfolk household is 151,772 pesos. The estimate costing does not include cost for land acquisition. Each settlement site will make its own budget based on the specific requirements, needs of the coastal communities, and more importantly, availability of land. Coordination and convergence among government units and agencies assure us that the settlements approach will work. The LGU will provide land while the NHA will manage the development of the sites. The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources will provide boats and fishing gears and allocate funds to build fish landings or docking piers. The Department of Social Welfare and Development will provide livelihood packages for both Fisherfolk households who have secure tenurial status and those without secure tenurial status. Government and private partnerships will also fortify the success of the program. Already, the NHA and Habitat for Humanity Philippines have clinched an agreement to share the building costs of core shelters, 70% for NHA and 30% for Habitat Philippines. International non-governmental organizations such as Oxfam Great Britain and Eco Netherlands have committed their support to the project. More similar partnerships will be formed. Social preparation of the Yolanda survivors and facilitation and coordination among all participating government agencies, LGUs, private sector, NGOs, and other international agencies will be undertaken by the National Anti-Poverty Commission. And the Department of Environment and Natural Resources will set up a mechanism that will ensure land will be made available by reclassifying forest land for residential use or livelihood purposes or titling of land to the LGUs. The settlements approach ensures safe and permanent shelter and better sources of livelihood to fisherfolk communities, the stewards of marine resources, by resettling them to safe areas that provide access to their source of livelihood, the sea. That we need to implement the settlements approach now is imperative. The fisherfolk, the poorest among our poor, were the most severely hit by Yolanda. If we can show that the settlements approach works in our pilot sites, we recommend its use for the 115 other coastal municipalities that were affected by Yolanda.